CBS Sports analyst Adidi Kinkghabwala, I definitely butchered that name. She went on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show podcast and basically spoke about Russell Wilson's struggles with Sean Payton's offense, and this is what she had to say. He was constantly climbing out of the back of the pocket. He struggled with snap counts. He couldn't manage or handle the play calling. They went from putting a wristband on him to by the end of the season, all the play calls had to be 2 words, and everybody else was required to know what the play calls were. It's pretty crazy and bold statement, especially since Russell Wilson didn't have that poor of a year. He had last year, he had 66% completion percentage, 3,070 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Those two numbers, the touchdowns and interceptions, were miles beyond the year previous, where he had 16 touchdowns and 11 picks. He did get released by the Denver Broncos earlier this year, and now currently resides as the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. And that's where actually I want to start with the question off. Do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers should be worried about Russell Wilson being their starting quarterback in 2024?
No, I think that these comments were unfounded, and I think they were actually the Broncos report came out calling them stupid. That Wilson's intelligence was being questioned. They said that there were other issues with the way he managed the system, and she might have pointed a few of those out there. That he had trouble with the Sean Payton system, but it wasn't an intelligence issue. He knew the plays. They were shuffling lots of players in and out of the offense on every play, and that's why they went to. That's what they said. That's why they went to the 2-word play, so everybody would be on the same page quickly when the new personnel were in and out of the game. So it didn't really have anything to do with that. And it's interesting to note this Adidi is a good friend of Kenny Pickett's, and she's also a Browns fan. So I think that there's more there than meets the eye, and I think it's a sour grapes issue with her not liking the fact that Kenny Pickett got traded by the Steelers and they picked up Russell Wilson, and I think she's trying to make a name for herself with this kind of a comment, and it's got our attention, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what she said.
I'm actually going to say that this is not just sour grapes, regardless of affiliations and potential fandom. I do think that, as reporters, as analysts, that the ethical thing would be is to sort of play sort of the middle ground and be as unfair or be as fair and unbiased as possible. What do we see for immediately? Sean Payton had a clear, and this is not just people, an unnamed source within the Broncos organization said this. No, we saw it on the field that Sean Payton had a serious problem with the way Russell Wilson operated on the field. That's what we saw. So much so that very early on, they wristbanded him. So even if feel like, okay, maybe not the 2-word thing and maybe testing his intelligence, he clearly had a problem with calling out the plays that he didn't know or couldn't say quick enough that they had the wristband so he could be there reading the play out instead of hearing it from Sean Payton or the OC. So clearly there was a legitimate issue there. So I don't think this is all about, testing his intelligence. And yes, Russell Wilson over the course of his career, he's a 9-time Pro Bowler, made it to 2 Super Bowls. He's a Walter Payton Man of the Year. He had the most 10-win seasons out of the first 10 years or whatever the case was, the most consecutive 10-win seasons. So he was a very good quarterback. And then you bring him into Nathaniel Hackett's Denver Broncos system. It's like, oh, what the hell is happening here? He's horrible. And then I always harken to the worst NFL game I have ever personally watched. There have been 2, but one in particular is the Thursday night game between the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. That, if someone needed to be tortured, that's a game I would make them watch. Sit there and watch. Because that game was brutal. Was it 12-9? Went into overtime. The 2 quarterbacks looked like absolute busts. It was absolutely horrible. And then this past season with Sean Payton, it was supposed to be much better. And it was a little bit better. Russell Wilson played better. However, if you look a little bit deeper at the numbers, it was much more dink and dunk than him staying in the pocket and throwing the deep pass, which he did a lot of in year 1, and this time it was more dink and dunk. And that's actually something that's interesting because Russell Wilson actually operated his best due to his short stature, rolling outside of the pocket and making the deep throw, Well, with the way the Broncos are constructed, their offensive line is not that great, and their receiving talent isn't, we're talking top 10 in the league. Maybe it is this year. Who knows? Probably not. But their receiver core wasn't very good. So Russell Wilson was kind of at a bit of a sticky situation with the team. Now he goes over to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who in my prediction, I think they'll go 8-9. I really do, just because I don't think Russell Wilson is that good of a quarterback anymore. I said it, 2 years ago after the 2021 season, or 2022 season, where he played absolutely horrible. I said, this is not a blip, this is a trend. It's going to keep going this way. And Russell Wilson played it safe last year. Wilson played it safe, so it looks a little bit better. But if we're talking about the production on the field, it wasn't really that much. So much so that Bailey Zappi came back from, 20 points down in the third quarter and was able to beat the Patriots? That's this team? Russell Wilson going to score a point against the Patriots when they were up and let Bailey Zappi mount one of the greatest comebacks that the Patriots have seen in a long time?
That was a good game. I enjoyed that game.
It was a good game. But if you're a Patriots fan, if you're a Broncos fan, you tear your hair out.
So let me ask you this, Nate.
Yeah.
A 9-time Pro Bowler.
Yep.
2-time Super Bowl
appearance. Yep.
1-time Super Bowl winner.
Yep.
Most 10-win consecutive seasons in the first 10 years of his career. You think he's stupid?
I don't think he's stupid. I just think he's not good anymore. Because if
but this is making him out to be ignorant. Do you think he's ignorant and stupid?
Well, I think I'm not saying he's cognitively impaired. What I am saying, though, is that we saw immediately that he could not run Sean Payton's system. So much so, you had to give him a wristband. And then apparently everybody needs to know their roles. If he says like White Panther, everybody knows what White Panther means in their own certain particular role within the play call.
I actually think that's a good way to do it.
It makes it so much more complicated.
Sometimes it's hard to hear in the huddle.
That's true,
right? Particularly like in Seattle, right, with the way the stadium is constructed, where it kind of overhangs there. The 12th fan, as they say, making a huge 12th player there. The fans making so much noise that the offense can't hear what's going on. So having a play calling system where it's 2 words, I think that makes sense. Actually, I don't think that's a bad idea. And how about this idea? This Adidi Kinkghabwala is really Gilbert Arenas in a woman's body.
Gilbert Arenas?
Yeah, trying to make a name for herself with some outrageous, crazy stuff.
Gilbert Arenas.
That's a crazy thing, Nate.
No, it's not.
We saw it not stupid.
We visually saw that Sean Payton.
This is a Gilbert Arenas. This is a Gilbert Arenas play. Trying to make a name for herself with a wacky thing.
Well, no, the problem with Gilbert Arenas' take is that there is literally no basis to it. You call Nikola Jokic statistically the worst MVP in 20 years or 40 years, and I can list you, baby, 10, 12, 15 players, which Jokic beats out in stats. That's uncalled for. What Kinkghabwala is saying, basically, and we saw it. Look at the Jets game. He fumbled that game away. They were driving, and he fumbled it away. Yeah. Are we going to call Brian Daboll out? Are we going to say, oh, well, he's being a little bit too hard on Daniel Jones? You know, he did throw a 97-yard pick six to Devin Witherspoon, and it's not nice to criticize him on the side. No. If he can't run your offense, do we criticize?
But was he not able to run the offense because he was stupid? I don't think so. I think he wasn't able to run the offense because it didn't fit his style of play.
Yeah,
and it was a new coach, and he had 1 year to figure it out, and he didn't do well with it. But I don't think it means he's stupid. And this is what she's implying, that he's a dumbbell. And I don't buy that. He's not a dumbbell.
Well, maybe that's the tone you're getting from it, but
that's what the headlines all say.
Couldn't manager handle the play calling? That's true.
She made her point. She got a lot of coverage from this by trying to implicate that Russell Wilson's dumb, and he's not. And that's what her point was. He may not have done well with Sean Payton. His stats weren't that bad last year. He did make some mistakes. He didn't fit that well in the system, but it's not because he's dumb.
Cognitively, no. But this is not saying, well, by the way, this take, if you want to call it, this analysis, is not something that we can't physically see. It's not like this is just coming out of thin air or just a hot take. We saw this visually. We saw Sean Payton have a problem, so much so, benched him for the last 2 games of the season. We heard a report toward the end of the year that they wanted to bench him at the midway point because of his contract.
The Broncos came out and said that what she said made no sense.
People on Broncos radio said it was ridiculous, not necessarily people from the Denver, and they're supposed to. You're never going to hear a team come out and say that this guy can't make plays for our offense. You can't. You know why you can't? Because you're stupid enough, if that is the case. If that is the case where Russell Wilson cognitively could not run a Sean Payton-style offense, then you are an idiot for giving him a massive contract. You are paying him a total of...
he got the massive contract before Sean Payton even arrived on the scene.
Right. So you're stupid in that regard because he didn't play a single snap before he gave him, a 4 or 5 year extension. You're paying him $39 million to not play for you.
So you're saying the Broncos' leadership was stupid?
To give Russell Wilson
that's where the ignorance was. It was with the leadership of the Broncos, not with Russell Wilson. To give him an extension before
he plays a snap for you is idiotic on so many levels. Because what we saw towards the end of Seattle was not that great. Really not that great.
Seattle got the better end of that deal for sure.
100%. But am I going to come out and say, no, Russell Wilson's not smart? No, I'm not going to say that.
Okay,
good.
Because that was the point that
I don't take it that way.
That Adidi was trying to make.
I don't take it that way.
And that's what the headlines are. That's what the headlines came out as. He's a dumbbell.
The only thing we can't physically see is whether or not the play calls were 2 words. We saw them put a wristband on him. We saw that based on his numbers, when he was on script and off script, 2 completely different quarterbacks. We saw that. We saw Sean Payton yelling at him. The only thing we don't know is whether or not the play calling legitimately went to 2 words. And maybe you're right. Maybe some schemes have 2 words because of Arrowhead, the loudest stadium in the NFL, the 12th.
My own thought is that Sean Payton had kind of made up his mind about Russell Wilson before he even came to coach the team. He didn't like the fact. He didn't like the fact the way he interacted with the players, had his own office.
Yeah.
And he was kind of standardoffish, and he had his own thing. Maybe
they give him a shot.
He didn't.
You want to play that fair?
He didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he already had a preconceived notion about how he felt about him before he even arrived as the coach, and it played out. There was problems all the way through, and at the end they let him go.
Well, I could also say that Sean Payton going into a Russell Wilson offense that looked anemic, so much so that Nathaniel Hackett got fired first year in before the end of the season. That's bad. That is very, very bad. However, we could all know this now. The Broncos weren't prepared for Russell Wilson to be their quarterback. They wanted Aaron Rodgers. That's why they got Nathaniel Hackett. So they went into a system where nothing was going to work out.
Yeah.
Wrong coach for the wrong quarterback, and a quarterback who towards the end of Seattle didn't look all that great. So the entire thing was just a complete mess, and Sean Payton probably had a preconceived notion of, I don't like him already. I don't think he could fit into my style offense. And maybe that is the case. Now, he did draft Bo Nix, and Bo Nix has fought through adversity when it comes to coaching and play calling. He's had 4 head coaches over his college career. Wow. So to be able to pick up an offense, and there was also a quote that I saw that was absolutely incredible, and that then I think Bo Nix is going to be a underrated star in a very, very short order of the NFL. And if I can find it quickly, I will. But I think that, here we go. So Adam Schefter reported back in April 25th that Denver held a private workout with Bo Nix the day after his pro day. The night before his workout, the Broncos sent Bo Nix 3 packets of offensive play installation. The next morning, as they worked in the classroom with Nix, he, quote, crushed it, per a Broncos source. The Broncos then took Nix from the classroom to the field, watched him throw for an hour, and they were convinced that he was the quarterback that they wanted. So
they were lucky he was there when they drafted, because they did not trade up. They drafted at number 12.
Yeah. So I think the way that this worked out, I think Bo Nix will be that type of guy who Sean Payton could attach himself to and say, this guy looked at every playbook known to man in college. He played for 4 head coaches and a bunch more OCs. Then he had 5 OCs as well. So the offensive schemes were different probably over the course of his tenure at college. I think we're going to see a Broncos team that is it's going to be sort of in the dark for a while.
I think so.
And then it's going to emerge like it's a tsunami wave and just crush competition.
Yeah, well, that's
going to be. I'm not saying year one, but
I don't think that's year one. I would pick them to be last in their division this year.
No, I'm saying Raiders. Raiders going with Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. I don't care who's your receiver. I don't care who's your offensive line. Those quarterbacks, now Gardner Minshew showed a little bit of
the Broncos are going to be hurt by the Russell Wilson trade for a couple more years, I think.
Financially, yes.
Yeah.
Russ does go to a system
pick-wise, too. They gave away their picks.
Yeah. No, I will say, though, the Russell Wilson is on a system with Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, George Pickens, Van Jefferson, Roman Wilson. Not bad. Not bad at all. They also got an upgraded tackle of Troy Fautanu. So, Fautanu, excuse me.
So my final thought on this is I'm anxious to see Russell Wilson in the Steelers offense. Yep. Right? Because if it was the Broncos messed it up for him, then he should rebound and have a great year because the tools will be around him. There'll be enough tools around him for him to be successful in that offense. So we'll see. Was it Russ or was it the Broncos?
I'm betting on it's Russ.
Okay,
I'm betting on it's Russ.
I'm not sure what it is right now, but I'm way anxious to see.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.